The group text arrived 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Big news. My boss David Roberts, CEO of TechCorp, is joining us for Thanksgiving dinner. This is huge for my career. Everyone needs to be on their best behavior. This means you, Sarah. I stared at the message from my brother Kevin. Read it twice. Then looked at the framed photo on my office wall. Me shaking hands with David Roberts at last quarter's board meeting. My assistant knocked. Dr. Whitmore? The TechCorp board materials just arrived. Thursday's meeting agenda includes the Q4 review and the merger discussion. Thanks, Patricia. I'll review them tonight. She hesitated. You're smiling. Good news. My brother just invited my board colleague to Thanksgiving dinner. He has no idea we know each other. Oh, this should be interesting. Interesting doesn't begin to cover it. I'm Sarah Whitmore, 41 years old, and I've spent my entire life being dismissed by my family. My brother Kevin is 3 years younger. From birth he was the golden child. The son. The heir. The one who mattered. I got straight A's. Kevin got participation trophies. Guess which one Dad celebrated? I graduated high school as valedictorian. Kevin barely graduated. Dad threw him a huge party for making it through. I got a full ride to MIT for computer science. Dad said, "That's nice, but who's going to marry a woman who's smarter than him?" Kevin went to state school on Dad's dime, partied for 5 years and graduated with a 2.3 GPA in business. Dad called him a late bloomer and gave him a car. I got my master's in computer science, then my PhD in artificial intelligence. Published research papers. Won awards. Got recruited by Stanford to teach. Dad's response, "When are you going to get a real job?" Kevin got an entry-level sales job at a tech startup. Dad bought champagne. I became a professor at Stanford. Published a book on AI ethics that became required reading in computer science programs worldwide. Got invited to speak at conferences across the globe. Dad asked if I was making tenure yet, like it was a participation trophy. Then I started consulting. Tech companies needed AI expertise. I had it. Started small. $5,000 projects, advisory work, weekend consulting. Within 3 years I was on the boards of 5 Fortune 500 companies. Board seats paid $300,000 to $500,000 per year. I made $2.1 million annually just from board work. Another $800,000 from my Stanford salary and research grants. Plus consulting fees that ranged from $50,000 to $200,000 per project. Last year my total income was $4.3 million. My family thought I was a teacher making $80,000 a year. Because I'd stopped trying to correct them. Kevin had been at TechCorp for 2 years. Sales associate. One of 300 people doing the same job. He made maybe $65,000 a year plus commission. But he talked like he ran the company. Every family gathering was the Kevin show. Stories about his big deals. Name-dropping executives. Explaining technology he barely understood to our parents who understood even less. Dad ate it up. That's my son. Moving up in the world. Mom would add, "Sarah, you should ask Kevin for career advice. He really understands business." I had a PhD from MIT and sat on 5 corporate boards. Kevin cold called small businesses trying to sell cloud storage solutions. But your mom. I'd ask Kevin for career advice. Last Christmas, Kevin had announced he was being mentored by senior leadership. "David Roberts himself knows my name," Kevin said proudly. Video. He stopped me in the hall last week and asked about my sales numbers. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom gushed. Dad beamed. "See, Sarah? That's what success looks like. Making connections. Getting noticed by important people." I sipped my wine and said nothing. Because I'd been in a 3-hour board meeting with David Roberts 2 days earlier, discussing a potential $8 billion merger. David had asked my opinion on the AI integration challenges. The entire board had waited for my analysis before voting. But telling my family that would require them to listen. To believe me. To acknowledge that maybe, possibly, I knew what I was talking about. So I said nothing. Kevin's Thanksgiving announcement came with 6 follow-up texts. "Dad, make sure the house looks good. First impressions matter. Mom, we need good food. Not your usual stuff. This is a Fortune 500 CEO. Sarah, please dress appropriately. Nothing weird. And don't talk about your teaching stuff. It's boring. Everyone." David Roberts is worth $400 million personally. TechCorp is a $15 billion company. This is the most important dinner of my career. If this goes well, I could get promoted to senior sales associate. Maybe even account executive. Do not embarrass me. I screenshot every message. Sent them to my colleague Jennifer, who also sat on TechCorp's board. Her response, "Oh my God. Does David know he's having dinner with your family?" Apparently not. Are you going to tell him? Not yet. I want to see how this plays out. You're evil. I love it. I called David's executive assistant, Monica. We'd worked together on board materials for 3 years. Monica, did David accept a Thanksgiving dinner invitation from Kevin Whitmore in sales? Oh, you know about that? Yes. Kevin's been persistent. Sent 3 emails. Finally, David said yes just to stop the requests. He's going for an hour max. Kevin is my brother. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? Kevin Whitmore is my younger brother. He has no idea I'm on TechCorp's board. How is that possible? My family doesn't pay attention to my career. They think I'm just a teacher. Monica started laughing. This is going to be amazing. Does David know? Not yet. I thought I'd let it be a surprise. Dr. Whitmore, you're diabolical. Can I tell David? No. Let him figure it out. This is the best thing that's happened all year. The week before Thanksgiving, Kevin's instructions intensified. Sarah, I bought you an outfit. It's at Mom's house. Please wear it. You always dress like a librarian. The outfit was a floral dress from Target. Size large. I'm a size 6. I texted back, I'll wear my own clothes, thanks. Sarah, this is important. Can you just once not make everything difficult? I left him on read. Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Kevin called. I need to prep you, he said without greeting. Prep me for what? For meeting David. He's incredibly successful. CEO of a major company. You need to be respectful. Don't ask stupid questions. Don't talk about things you don't understand. Like what? Like technology, business, anything corporate. Just stick to teaching or whatever. Kevin, I have a PhD in computer science. I think I can handle a conversation about technology. Having a degree isn't the same as real-world experience, Sarah. David built a $15 billion company. You grade papers. It's different. I counted to 10. Anything else? Yeah. Don't mention your age. You're 41 and single. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing for who? For the family. David is married with kids. Normal, successful life. I don't want him thinking our family is full of weird spinsters. I'm a tenured professor at Stanford. Which is great, but it's not like you're a CO or anything. Just, let me do the talking tomorrow. You can smile and nod. He hung up. I sat in my office at Stanford, surrounded by AI research papers, book awards, and photos from corporate board meetings. Then I called David Roberts directly. His personal cell. The one only board members had. He answered on the second ring. Sarah. What's up? Quick question. You're having Thanksgiving dinner with Kevin Whitmore tomorrow. Unfortunately, yes. He's been aggressively networking. Figured I'd put in an appearance, talk about his sales numbers, be encouraging. Standard CEO stuff. Why? Kevin is my brother. Silence. Long silence. I'm sorry, Kevin Whitmore in sales is your brother? The one who sends me weekly emails about his performance metrics. That's the one. How did I not know this? He doesn't know I'm on your board. My family doesn't know I do corporate work. They think I'm just a Stanford professor. David started laughing. Actual full laughter. You're kidding. Nope. Kevin's been telling the family for weeks that his CEO is coming to dinner. He's coaching everyone on how to behave. Including me. He told me not to talk about technology because I don't have real-world experience. You literally advised us through a $3.2 billion AI acquisition last quarter. I know. You published the paper that changed how we approach machine learning ethics. I know. You're one of the most respected AI experts in the country. Kevin doesn't know that. He thinks I grade papers. More laughter. This is incredible. What do you want me to do? Nothing. Just show up. Let it unfold naturally. Sarah, I have to tell you, this might be the highlight of my year. Line 2. Thanksgiving Day. I arrived at my parents' house at 2 p.m. wearing a black cashmere sweater and tailored pants. Professional but comfortable. Kevin took one look and frowned. I bought you a dress. I'm wearing this. Sarah. Kevin, drop it. Mom rushed over. Sarah, honey, maybe you could change? Kevin's boss is very important. I'm aware. Dad appeared. Sarah, your brother is trying to make a good impression. The least you can do is cooperate. I'm wearing this. If Kevin's boss has a problem with cashmere and good tailoring, that's a concerning business strategy. Kevin pulled me aside. Why do you always have to be difficult? I'm wearing clothes. That's not difficult. You know what I mean. This is important to me. Why can't you just be supportive? I am being supportive. I'm here, aren't I? He looked at me like I was a stranger. Sometimes I don't understand you at all. The feeling is mutual. David Roberts was due at 4 p.m. Kevin checked his watch every 3 minutes starting at 3:30. At 3:45 he gathered everyone in the living room. Okay, here's the plan. When Mr. Roberts arrives, Dad and I will greet him. Mom, you offer drinks. Sarah, you can help in the kitchen. I'm not hiding in the kitchen. I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to be helpful. By staying out of sight? By not making this about you. I sat down on the couch. I'll stay right here. Kevin looked panicked. Sarah, please. The doorbell rang. Kevin literally jumped, straightened his tie, took a deep breath. Everyone, best behavior. This is the most important moment of my career. He opened the door. David Roberts stood on the porch in casual slacks and a button-down shirt, holding a bottle of wine, looking exactly like he did in our board meetings minus the suit. Kevin. Happy Thanksgiving. Mr. Roberts. Please come in. Welcome to our home. David stepped inside. His eyes swept the room, doing what CEOs do, assessing, evaluating, reading the space. His gaze landed on me. He froze. Completely, totally froze. Sarah. I smiled. Wave. Hi, David. Kevin's head snapped toward me. Then back to David. You know my sister? David was staring at me like I'd materialized from another dimension. Know her? Sarah, what are you doing here? It's Thanksgiving. This is my family. But. He looked at Kevin. Looked at me. I watched the pieces click together in his brilliant CEO brain. Kevin Whitmore is your brother. Unfortunately, yes. Kevin's face had gone from confident to confused to pale. How do you two know each other? David turned to him. Sarah sits on TechCorp's board of directors. She's been on the board for 4 years. We meet monthly. The silence that followed could have shattered windows. Kevin made a sound, half laugh, half choke. That's not possible. It's very possible, David said, still looking at me like he was solving a puzzle. Sarah is one of our most valuable board members. Her expertise in AI has been crucial to our strategic direction. Mom spoke up. Sarah is a teacher. At Stanford. She's a tenured professor, yes. But she's also on the boards of 5 Fortune 500 companies. Including mine. David turned to me. How did I not know Kevin was your brother? Different last names, I said. I use my married name professionally. Well, formerly married. You were married? Kevin's voice cracked. For 6 years. Divorced 3 years ago. You didn't notice because you never ask about my life. Dad stood up. Now wait just a minute. You're on corporate boards? Since when? Since 4 years ago for TechCorp. 7 years for the others. You never told us, Mom said. I did tell you. Multiple times. You said it was nice, and changed the subject. David was watching this exchange with visible fascination. I'm sorry, you told them you were on corporate boards and they didn't, what? Believe you. They didn't ask for details, I said. They assumed it was some minor advisory thing. Not worth discussing. Kevin found his voice. You're on the board. The actual board. The one that makes decisions about the company. Yes, Kevin. The board of directors. I'm on the compensation committee and the technology oversight committee. I approve your CEO's salary. I gestured to David. Among other things. David was trying not to smile. Failing. Sarah, your family thinks you just teach? They think I'm a professor who grades papers and occasionally publishes articles nobody reads. Your book on AI ethics is required reading at MIT and Stanford. It's been cited in over 3,000 academic papers. Your research changed how the tech industry approaches machine learning. Kevin sat down. Actually sat down like his legs had given out. Dad looked at David. Is this true? Absolutely true. Sarah is one of the foremost experts on artificial intelligence in the world. Companies pay her up to $200,000 for a single consulting project. Her board seats pay $300,000 to $500,000 annually. Each. Mom's hand went to her mouth. She makes more than I do, David continued, clearly enjoying himself now. And I'm the CEO of a $15 billion company. That's not quite true, I corrected. Your compensation package last year was $12 million. I make about $4.3 million. Fair point, David conceded. But you make it without the stress of running a company. Kevin was staring at me. $4 million? Give or take. Depends on consulting projects and speaking fees. Speaking fees. I give keynote speeches at tech conferences. Usually $50,000 to $75,000 per speech. The room was completely silent. David, to his credit, was handling this beautifully. You know, Kevin, you told me your sister worked in retail. Kevin's face went from pale to red. I said she worked at a university. You must have misunderstood. No, you specifically said retail. I remember because I thought it was odd that you had a sister in retail while you worked in tech. I don't remember saying that. I do. It was 3 months ago. You were in my office trying to schedule this dinner. I leaned forward. Kevin, why would you tell your boss I worked retail? I didn't. I might have simplified. You were embarrassed, I said quietly. Of me. Of what you thought I did. So you lied. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've spent years telling me to be quiet about my work. To not bore people with my research. To let you do the talking because I don't understand the real world. Dad cleared his throat. Sarah, we didn't know. Because you didn't ask. For 7 years I've been on corporate boards. I've told you about meetings, decisions, projects. You nodded and changed the subject to Kevin's sales numbers. David was watching this unfold with the analytical gaze he used in board meetings. If I may ask, Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, what did you think Sarah did? Mom spoke softly. We thought she was a professor. Teaching classes. Writing papers. She's also one of the most influential voices in technology. Her research has shaped policy decisions at the federal level. The AI ethics framework she developed is being adopted by companies worldwide. We didn't know, Dad said. Because you didn't want to know, I said. Kevin's work was exciting. Important. Worth celebrating. Mine was boring academic stuff. Kevin stood up abruptly. I need some air. He walked out to the backyard. David looked at me. Should I go talk to him? That's up to you. As his CEO or as your colleague? Whichever role you think fits the situation better. He smiled. I'll be right back. Through the window I watched David approach Kevin in the backyard. They talked for several minutes. Kevin gesturing. David standing calm, hands in pockets, listening. Inside the silence was excruciating. Finally Mom said, Sarah, why didn't you tell us? Really tell us? I did tell you. At last year's Christmas I mentioned I'd been asked to join another board. You said, that's nice, and asked if I was seeing anyone. A board could mean anything. It means exactly what it sounds like. A corporate board of directors. But you assumed it was something small because assuming I was successful didn't fit your narrative. Dad bristled. That's not fair. Isn't it? When I got tenure at Stanford you asked if that meant I could finally afford to buy a house. I already owned a house. A 4-bedroom house in Palo Alto worth $3.2 million. Paid in full. Mom blinked. You own a house? For 6 years. You've never visited. Never asked to see it. Never asked about my life beyond. Are you dating anyone? We thought you were struggling, Dad said. Single, working in academia, we thought you needed support. I make more money than both of you combined. I have investments worth $8 million. I drive a Tesla Model S. I take 4 international vacations a year. The only thing I'm struggling with is understanding how my own family knows nothing about my life. The back door opened. David and Kevin came back inside. Kevin looked like he'd been crying. David's expression was unreadable. I think, David said carefully, we should all sit down for dinner. As planned. And maybe use this as an opportunity for honest conversation. We sat. Mom served turkey and stuffing in near silence. David, diplomat that CEOs have to be, tried to ease the tension. This looks delicious, Mrs. Whitmore. Thank you for including me. Of course, Mom said quietly. Kevin hadn't looked at me since coming back inside. David turned to me. Sarah, I've been meaning to ask. Did you finish that paper on algorithmic bias? The one you were presenting at the MIT conference. Finished it last week. Published in the Journal of Machine Learning Research. Should be out next month. I'd love to read it. Might be relevant for our new hiring platform. I'll send you a copy. Dad cleared his throat. What exactly does Sarah do on your board, Mr. Roberts? Please call me David. And Sarah provides expertise we desperately need. Technology moves fast. AI especially. Sarah helps us understand not just what's technically possible, but what's ethical, sustainable, and strategic. Can you give an example? Mom asked. David glanced at me for permission. I nodded. Last quarter, we were considering acquiring a company that specialized in facial recognition technology. Worth about $3.2 billion. Sarah spent 2 weeks analyzing their algorithms. Found bias in their training data that would have exposed us to massive liability and reputation damage. Her analysis saved us from a catastrophic acquisition. She did that? Dad asked. She did. The board voted unanimously against the acquisition based on her recommendation. 6 months later, that company got sued for $400 million over the exact issues Sarah identified. Kevin was staring at his plate. Sarah's not just on our board, David continued. She shapes our strategy. When we discuss AI integration, autonomous systems, machine learning applications, we wait for her analysis. Because she sees things others miss. I didn't know Sarah did any of that, Mom said quietly. Most people don't, I said. Board work is confidential. I can't discuss specific decisions publicly. But when I mentioned being in board meetings, being on committees, consulting for tech companies, that was all real. You just never asked for details. Kevin finally spoke. I told everyone you just graded papers. I know. I told David you worked retail. I know that too. Why didn't you correct me? Would you have believed me if I did? He opened his mouth. Closed it. No answer. David cut into his turkey. For what it's worth, Kevin, your sister is one of the most impressive people I work with. She's brilliant, insightful, and completely unpretentious about her expertise. Unlike some people, I said, looking at Kevin. He flinched. Sarah, Mom started. We owe you an apology. For what specifically? For not seeing you. Really seeing you. For assuming I was less successful than Kevin, I added. For telling me to be quiet about my work. For dismissing my career while celebrating his entry-level sales job. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant exactly that. Kevin was the son. The important one. The one whose career mattered. I was the daughter who didn't quite fit. Too smart. Too unmarried. Too different from what you wanted. The silence that followed was broken only by David's fork on his plate. Then he said quietly, I think this is a family conversation. I should probably go. Please stay, I said. You're the only person here who's actually valued my expertise. He stayed. After dinner, Kevin asked to talk to me privately. We went to the front porch. November evening. Cold enough to see our breath. I'm sorry, he said immediately. For which part? All of it. Telling David you worked retail. Coaching you not to speak. Assuming you knew nothing about technology. He looked at his hands. Telling the family for years that you were just a teacher. Making you feel small. Why did you do it? Because you scared me. I hadn't expected that. Scared you how? You were always smarter. Always more accomplished. Straight as while I struggled for CS. Full ride to MIT while I barely got into state school. PhD while I was barely graduating undergrad. He took a breath. It was easier to tell myself you were just academic. Just theoretical. That I was the one in the real world, doing real work. My work is real, Kevin. I know that now. I've always known it, I just didn't want to admit it. Why not? Because then I'd have to admit that you succeeded without Dad's help. Without family money. Without any of the advantages I had. You did it all yourself and you did it better than I ever could. I leaned against the porch railing. I never wanted to compete with you. I know. But I competed with you anyway. And I lost. It's not a competition. To Dad it is. The golden son versus the disappointing daughter. Except the disappointing daughter turned out to be more successful than the golden son ever dreamed of being. Kevin. I make $65,000 a year, Sarah. You make $4 million. You own a house worth more than I'll make in 50 years. You sit on boards with CEOs and billionaires. You've accomplished more than anyone in our family by a factor of 100. And you lied to everyone about it. Because I couldn't handle the truth. That my sister, the one I'd been told was less important, less valuable, less worthy of attention, was actually the most successful person in our entire family. I didn't respond. Let him sit with that truth. David talked to me in the backyard, Kevin continued. Asked me why I lied about you. I tried to explain and he just looked at me and said, "You know what I see? A man so insecure about his own accomplishments that he has to diminish his sisters to feel adequate. David doesn't pull punches. He told me I should be proud of you. That having a sister on his board should have been the first thing I mentioned when I started at TechCorp. That I hid you. Diminished you. Made you smaller so I could feel bigger. Yes. You did. Can you forgive me?" I looked at my brother. Saw someone who'd spent his whole life being told he was special for being a son. Who'd built his identity on being the important one. And who'd just had that identity shattered by discovering his dismissed sister was the truly accomplished one. "I don't know," I said honestly. "You didn't just lie once, Kevin. You've spent years making me feel like my work didn't matter. Like I was embarrassing for being educated, successful, unmarried. You made me the family joke." "I know. And now you're sorry because David exposed the truth. But would you be sorry if he hadn't? If you'd gotten through this dinner without him recognizing me?" He was quiet for a long time. "I don't know. Probably not. At least you're honest about that. What do I do now?" "That's up to you. But Kevin, I need you to understand something. I don't need you to be proud of me. I don't need Dad's approval or Mom's recognition. I built a career and a life that fulfills me completely. With or without family validation. You sound like you don't need us at all." "I don't. Not anymore. I needed you when I was 18 and alone at MIT. When I was 25 defending my dissertation. When I was 30 navigating a divorce. But you weren't there for any of that because you were too busy being Dad's golden boy." "Sarah. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done pretending. Done making myself smaller. Done letting you feel superior by making me feel inferior." Kevin wiped his eyes. "I fucked this up." "Yes. You did. Can we fix it?" "I don't know. Can you handle having a sister who's more successful than you? Can Dad? Can Mom? Or will you always need me to be the struggling spinster to make yourselves feel better?" He had no answer. We went back inside. David was preparing to leave when we returned. "Thank you for dinner," he said to Mom. "And for the enlightening conversation. Before you go," Dad said, "I have questions." David paused. "All right. Is Sarah really as successful as you said? Or were you exaggerating to make a point?" I started to respond, but David held up a hand. "Mr. Whitmore, I don't exaggerate. Especially not about professional accomplishments. Sarah sits on 5 Fortune 500 boards. That's prestigious enough that most people can't get on one. She's published research that changed an entire industry. She consults for companies at rates that most executives don't command. She's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, MIT Technology Review, and Forbes. She spoke at the World Economic Forum in Davos last year." Mom made a small sound. "Davos. International Conference of World Leaders and Business Executives," I said. "They invited me to speak about AI ethics and governance." "You never mentioned that," Mom whispered. "I did. You asked if I had fun on my trip to Switzerland. I said yes. You changed the subject to Kevin's sales award." Dad turned to Kevin. "You won a sales award?" Kevin's face reddened. "Regional top performer. Third quarter. It was just what every sales associate gets if they hit their numbers," David finished. "It's nice. Good job. But it's not exactly Davos. The comparison hung in the air. Uncomfortable. Undeniable. Dad sat down heavily. How did we not know any of this? Because you didn't want to know, I said. You wanted me to be the quirky professor. The spinster daughter who never quite measured up. Admitting I was successful would have disrupted the family narrative. What narrative? Mom asked. That Kevin was the successful one. The important one. The one who mattered. If I was successful too, more successful, then what did that say about your priorities? About how you raised us? About which child you actually supported? We supported both of you. No, you supported Kevin. With money, attention, validation, connections. I supported myself. With loans, scholarships, 3 jobs and sheer determination. And I succeeded anyway. Despite, not because of, this family. David quietly slipped toward the door. I should really go. David, I said. Thank you for coming. I'll see you at Tuesday's board meeting. Looking forward to it. And Sarah? You're still my first call on AI strategy. Always. He left. The 4 of us, Mom, Dad, Kevin, and me, sat in the living room surrounded by the ruins of our family myths. Tell us, Dad said finally. Tell us everything. Your work. Your accomplishments. All of it. Why now? I asked. Why not 7 years ago when I first got a board seat? Or 4 years ago when I published my book? Or 2 years ago when I spoke at Davos? Because we didn't understand. No. Because you didn't care to understand. There's a difference. Mom was crying quietly. We failed you. Yes. You did. Can we fix it? She asked, echoing Kevin's question. I don't know. Can you handle knowing your daughter is more successful than your son? Can you celebrate my accomplishments without diminishing them to make Kevin feel better? Can you value me for who I actually am instead of who you wanted me to be? Kevin spoke up. I can try. Trying isn't enough. Either you accept reality or you don't. But I'm not going to keep diminishing myself for your comfort. Dad looked defeated. What do you want from us? Nothing. That's the point. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your validation. I built a life without it. A successful, fulfilling life. You're welcome to be part of it, but only if you can handle the truth of who I am. Which is? Mom asked. Dr. Sarah Whitmore. Stanford professor. Corporate board member. AI ethics expert. Author. Speaker. Consultant. Someone who makes $4 million a year doing work that matters. Someone who owns a $3.2 million house. Someone who travels the world advising governments and corporations. Someone who succeeded despite being told she was less important than her brother. The silence stretched. Finally, Kevin said, I told my coworkers about you. After David left my office today, I told them my sister is on the board. That she's brilliant. That she's one of the most respected AI experts in the world. Why? Because David asked how I introduced you at family events. I said I usually didn't mention you much. He said, if my sister was Sarah Whitmore, she'd be the first thing I talked about. And he was right. What did your coworkers say? They asked why I'd never mentioned you before. I didn't have a good answer. The answer is you were embarrassed. Of me. Of my success that highlighted your mediocrity. He flinched but didn't deny it. Mom stood. Walked over to a bookshelf. Pulled out a photo album. The family history and pictures. She flipped through. Showed us. 17 photos of Kevin's graduation. 3 of mine. 12 photos of Kevin's sales awards. None of my academic achievements. 5 photos of Kevin's wedding. None from my wedding. This is who we were, Mom said quietly. Who we've been. Yes, I said. It is. Can we be different? That's up to you. I left my parents' house at 9 p.m. Drove home to Palo Alto in silence. My phone buzzed with text. Kevin, I'm sorry. Really truly sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it again. Mom, please come to Christmas. We want to do better. Dad, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I didn't respond to any of them. Went home. Poured wine. Sat on my deck overlooking the city lights. Patricia, my assistant, texted, How did it go? Exactly as expected. Complete chaos. My brother's brain nearly exploded. Did the CO enjoy himself? Immensely. He's now aware that one of his sales associates lied about his sister's career. That should make for interesting performance reviews. You're terrible. I'm honest. There's a difference. Monday morning, David called. I need to ask you something as your friend, not your CEO. Go ahead. Are you okay? Friday was intense. I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. I'm free. Free from what? From pretending. From making myself smaller. From caring what my family thinks. Kevin sent me an email. Apologizing for misrepresenting you. Asking if it would affect his employment. What did you tell him? That his personal life is separate from his professional performance. But that integrity matters in all contexts. Diplomatic. I'm a CEO. Diplomacy is the job. He paused. For what it's worth, watching you handle that situation, calm, professional, completely unshaken, reminded me why you're on my board. You have clarity other people don't. Thank you, David. See you Tuesday. Tuesday's board meeting was normal. Strategic discussions. Financial reviews. Merger analysis. At the end, David addressed the board. Before we adjourn, I want to acknowledge Dr. Whitmore. I had Thanksgiving dinner with her family last week. They had no idea she was on this board. Or any board. Or that she's one of the foremost AI experts in the world. The other board members looked shocked. How is that possible? Asked Jennifer, the board member who already knew the story. Because I don't advertise my accomplishments to people who don't value them, I said simply. David smiled. Which is exactly why you're invaluable. No ego. Just excellence. The board applauded. After the meeting, 3 board members approached me. I had no idea your family didn't know about your work. Most people don't. I keep my professional and personal lives separate. Still, to have family not recognize your achievements. It's their loss, not mine. And I meant it. Christmas came with another round of texts. Please come. We want to celebrate you properly this year. I almost declined. Almost spent Christmas alone with a good book and expensive wine. But curiosity won. I arrived Christmas Eve. Brought nothing. Expected nothing. The house was different. Everywhere I looked there were changes. A framed copy of my book on the mantle. My Forbes 40 Under 40 article printed and displayed. A photo from my Davos speech on the wall. Mom saw me noticing. We've been researching. Your work. Your accomplishments. We printed articles. Bought your book. Watched your TED Talk. I've given 3 TED Talks. We watched all 3. Kevin appeared. I read your AI ethics paper. The one about algorithmic bias. I didn't understand all of it, but what I did understand was brilliant. Thank you. Dad emerged from the kitchen. Sarah. I'm glad you came. Me too. Dinner was quiet. Polite. Careful. Halfway through, Mom said, we'd like to hear about your work. Really hear about it. If you're willing to share. I looked at them. Saw people trying. Failing. But trying. What do you want to know? For the next 2 hours I talked. About boards. Research. Consulting. The companies I advised. The policies I shaped. The students I mentored. They listened. Actually listened. Asked questions. Real questions. When I mentioned a $200,000 consulting project, Dad didn't flinch. When I explained a board decision that saved a company $400 million, Mom didn't change the subject. When I described speaking to the Senate about AI regulation, Kevin didn't make it about himself. It was strange. Uncomfortable. At the end of the evening, Dad said, I'm proud of you. I should have said that every day for the past 20 years. But I'm saying it now. Thank you. Can we start over? Mom asked. Not forget what happened but try to be better? I don't know. Can you? We want to try. I looked at Kevin. What about you? I told everyone at work about you. My sister on the board. My sister the expert. My sister who's changing the world. I've been bragging about you for weeks. That's a change. I know. And Sarah? I'm sorry. For everything. 4 years of making you small. For being threatened by your success. For lying about who you are. Apology noted. Not accepted? He asked quietly. Not yet. But maybe someday. He nodded. Understanding that some bridges take time to rebuild. 6 months after that Thanksgiving, Kevin got promoted at TechCorp. Not because of me. I stayed completely out of it. He earned it. Hit his numbers. Improved his performance. Showed initiative. He called to tell me. I'm senior sales associate now. Small promotion, but it's progress. Congratulations. I told my new team about you. My sister who advises the CEO. They were impressed. Good. Sarah, I'm trying. I know I fucked up. I know I spent years being a terrible brother. But I'm trying to be better. I see that. Is that enough? It's a start. We had lunch the next week. Talked about work. His challenges. My projects. He asked intelligent questions about AI ethics. Actually listened to the answers. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Mom and Dad visited my house for the first time. Walked through my home office. Saw my awards. My library. My life. This is beautiful, Mom said. Thank you. I'm sorry we never visited before. I know. Can we do better? You're doing better. Keep going. A year after that Thanksgiving, I was named to Forbes' Most Powerful Women in Tech list. My family threw me a party. A real party. With my accomplishments celebrated. My work recognized. My expertise valued. Kevin gave a toast. To my sister Sarah. Who succeeded despite having a family that didn't see her. Who built an empire while we were celebrating my sales awards. Who proved that real success doesn't need validation, it creates it. Everyone applauded. Mom cried. Dad beamed. Kevin looked genuinely proud. It wasn't forgiveness. Not entirely. But it was acknowledgement. Recognition. Respect. And sometimes that's enough. I stayed in touch with David Roberts. Remained on TechCorp's board for 8 more years. Helped guide the company through 3 major acquisitions, 2 CEO transitions, and the AI revolution that transformed the industry. Kevin stayed at TechCorp too. Made account executive. Then senior account executive. Never meteoric but steady. Honest. No longer threatened by my success. And every Thanksgiving after that infamous dinner we told the story. The time David Roberts came to dinner expecting to mentor a sales associate's family and discovered his board member checking coats. The time a CEO exposed a family's willful blindness to their daughter's accomplishments. The time everything changed because someone finally said the truth out loud. I never checked coats again. But I never forgot the lesson either. Success doesn't require validation from people who refuse to see you. It just requires showing up as exactly who you are. And letting the truth speak for itself.